Is it time for recess yet? I'm so glad you found time to join us here on the Child Care Director's Chair, where Erica Sacoccio shares her best practices that she's refined through her passion of directing childcare centers over the last 23 years. From parenting interaction, systems to save you time, money, and stress, to profitability. She shares it all from the Child Care Director's Chair.
2, 1. What if I told you the difference between a struggling center and a thriving school of excellence isn't more money or more staff? It's leadership. In today's episode, we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to lead with purpose, passion, and power in early childhood education. If you're ready to stop just surviving and you're ready to start building something extraordinary, you're in the right chair. Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Sacoccio, and we are joined today with Chanie, probably not going to say this right, Wilschanski. I know it's not right. It's all right.
Chanie Wilschanski. Yeah.
I also hacked my own last name. So, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you.
Thanks for having me, Erica.
And are you in New York, New Jersey?
No. So I grew up in Jersey and then I lived in New York for 19 years. And then we moved to Florida in August of 2020. So that is where I currently am right now.
So lucky. I want to move. I talk about moving to Florida all the time. Do you love it?
The mass exodus. Do I love it? Well, sorry, I don't know why this thing is being annoying. We love Florida. It was the best decision we made for our family. It's the best decision we made for our kids, friends, community, sunshine, the beach, all the things. So we're really happy that we made the move. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell folks a little bit about yourself and how this topic really resonates for you.
Yeah. So I started working in early childhood when I was 19 years old. I worked as a toddler teacher for 8 years. Then I worked as an assistant director and then a director and then executive director and ran schools. And then during that time frame, I also got my master's in early childhood and special education. So I've really been in the field of early childhood basically my whole life since I graduated from high school. And they're always in every single position of leadership that I've had inside of schools. I've always seen a gap of like, okay, here's something that needs to shift here. Here's something that needs to shift here. And eventually when I started my company back in 2015, Schools of Excellence, we're going on 10 years now. I really started Schools of Excellence with filling the void around leadership, really understanding what does it mean to lead yourself? What does it mean to lead others? What does it mean to really build something that is excellence? Not something that is good or great or just surviving or anything, but like what is truly that definition of excellence? And over the years, we've done a lot of different things, but I think at the core of everything is really understanding that being in the pursuit of excellence is a consistent pursuit, right? You're constantly showing up. You're constantly going after something. And that is why it is so critical to have the right rhythms, the right definitions of leadership, of grace, of support. We need to understand what these words actually mean, because if not, we lose ourselves. We disappear in the process of building something phenomenal. And women who are running schools typically come to me at a place where they're like, I don't recognize myself anymore. I've had blood pressure. I have early diabetes. I just had a heart attack. My husband, I got divorced. I don't talk to my kids anymore. Like all the things that start crumbling around them because they've pushed themselves too far.
Wow. Yeah. So I really just love to talk about how we can help folks change that. And or just even before you change, you have to recognize that it's happening.
Yes. So let's start recognizing that first.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about like, what does it really mean to lead from the inside out in a school?
Yeah. So the first thing is when we understand leading from the inside out is we have to understand what in means, right? What is our heart? What is our soul? What is our connection to ourselves, right? Most of us live from the neck up, right? Like if I could think this way and I could power my way through and I can like do all these things, but we're not recognizing that we're actually spiritual beings also, and we have a soul, and we also need to be able to connect to ourselves emotionally. And the thing about women specifically in school leadership is women wait until they're falling apart to make a change. We wait for a breakdown. We need the doctor to tell us, you are dying. We need a licensing threat. We need staff to walk out. And then finally, we're like, oh my God, I have to do something different. And the thing to understand is while that could be a catalyst to start, it cannot be something that's sustainable. And the challenge with this is because desires are indulgent for women and crises feel justifiable, right? There's a crisis, so I can justify going to get support. I can justify going for help. I can justify making this move or whatever it is. But I desire a better school. Ooh, that's indulgent. How dare you? Right. And so what happens is that is a leadership model that is rooted in survival, which is not sustainable. And so the first step in leading from the inside out is actually recognizing that the vast majority of the decisions and the choices that you've made until now have been made from a place of survival. And we need to understand how to make decisions from a place of calm and peace and wanting to keep calm and peace.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, that's very, very, no, it's very true. I very often share my, my story of thinking I was going to die on a playground. So yeah, I am also guilty of waiting till like, you need to
We
change
all
something.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share a moment when your leadership style was truly tested and what did you learn?
Yes. Oh my God. I have so many stories, but I'll share the one where I really had to recognize that so much of how I showed up was around grit and hustle. And my entire identity was wrapped around how strong I am, how much I can carry, how well I can take a hit, how resilient I am, how smart I am, how fast I am, how blah, 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 fill in the blank. And so what happened is that I literally designed a school and a business that was surrounded around all my emotional and mental labor, right? Everything was around what I can do, what I can carry, what I can think, what I can hold, what I remember, where I don't drop the ball, etc. And so what happened is that I literally became the safety net. I was the responsibility. So I was the scapegoat. So I was everything, right? And we can do that until we can't do that because we become so exhausted and we literally disappear into ourselves. We start vanishing and we're like, who am I? What's going on here? And I had multiple moments like that, but I would say the most recent one was when my father-in-law passed away a year and a half ago, and my husband was going through a very, very difficult season of grief. I kind of disappeared into him. I was so focused on holding and taking care and keeping the house together and, protecting him from any hits or whatever it was that was not going to come his way because he had so much that he was holding that I started to disappear. Like I stopped recognizing myself and stopped seeing like what I was doing. And I think a lot of women who are listening to this can really resonate that we confuse grace and grit and being kind and being supportive with leadership. But that's not what it is. We think that we can build our cultures on our charisma and our joy. And I am a very joyful person. And I know that I have a very warm, exuberant energy. I know when I walk into a room, I know that I can create amazing energy and light into the room. I know that. And the thing is that while that's an incredible gift and strength and skill, it can also be your kryptonite. Because what happens is you don't build sustainable rhythms because you always rely, I got this.
Yeah, you said so many great things there. One of the things I think, particularly for women, is sometimes hard is to balance empathy with accountability as a leader, right?
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that because we're very empathetic. That's kind of like our thing as women. And sometimes we over empathize and we don't hold folks accountable. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this topic. Okay. So let's back up for a second. So you'll often hear women say things like, I want to give them grace. They're really trying. This is really difficult for them. It's a really hard season. They just had a baby, or they just had this, or they're pregnant, or their husband went out of town, or they're dead, right? And so women, because we are so intuitive and so emotionally attuned with other people, we again, superpower, right? Great thing to have. And then there's the flip side. And so what I have found with women is when they say these kinds of things, what they're saying is, I don't know how to hold the standard in my school without losing connection. Women want connection. They want relationships. They don't want their teams to feel disconnected. And so when I when I hear a leader say that, it's, I don't want to be disliked. I don't want to lose connection. I want to stay here. And so they're terrified of holding the standard, because the standard means I might lose momentary connection.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So, a lot of folks will use the term leader and manager. Let's just clarify, what's the difference between a manager and being a leader in early childhood education?
You specifically want to go with those words, or?
Well, we can go with other words, but I know sometimes they're shown differently, but people will use them simultaneously.
Okay. So we could go with manager and leader. I also when I think of those words, I think of like someone who's like enforcing laws, right? Like the manager,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the person who's like the architect who creates all of that kind of stuff. And so the manager or the enforcer is the person who holds the vigilance. They are the person who's hyper vigilant, right? Like, okay, is the licensor coming today? Did the lights turn out? Did we turn off the AC? I can't remember if we locked the door. Did we order enough milk? Was this taken care of? Right. So they're constantly managing, double checking, managing, double checking, managing, double checking. Okay. And so what happens is, if you are the one that has to check, did this get happen? Resend the tour, resend the SOP, resend the follow-up, remind the team to do the thing that you already told them that they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a leader. A leader holds the standard. A leader creates culture. And the biggest thing, which I really want to get into today, a leader designs rhythms that anchor and hold the team even when everyone around them is crumbling. And this is the biggest piece that schools are missing. Everyone runs by mood-based leadership. Wasn't in the mood, so I didn't send the gratitude card. Wasn't in the mood, didn't do the one-on-ones. I didn't really feel it, so I thought it was inauthentic for me to go do the classroom observations. What in the actual world? None of that is real. It is all avoidance masked as kindness. Kindness of like, whatever, it was inauthentic. Like, I have to be authentic to myself. No, you have to go take a 5-minute break outside, drink water, take a sandwich, fuel yourself, and get into that classroom. You cannot live your life and lead a school. Sorry, you can lead your life based on mood. But if you choose to be a leader, no, you show up because that's what's on your calendar. I give this example all the time because I think it's a great example, and it's not because I endorse this show. Saturday Night Live goes live on Saturday night, not because they're ready, not because they have the script, not because they're in the mood. They go live on Saturday night because it's Saturday night. And this is something that has to change in this industry. You go and do the classroom observations, not because you're in the mood, not because you have time, not because the teacher's ready, but because it's on your calendar and you're walking into that classroom.
Well, so you said on the calendar. So let's talk about mindset and habits of high-performing leaders. So maybe what are 2 or 3 non-negotiable habits in your daily routine that you practice in terms of leadership?
Say the question again.
What are 2 or 3 non-negotiable habits in your daily leadership practice?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say something first and then I'm gonna answer the question. Because
Sure.
I have a real philosophy when it comes to calendar and habits. Okay. Um, calendar is not a time tool. It's not an online tool. It's not any of those things. Calendar is a trust tool. And I say this to leaders all the time. Like, if you have a profit problem, you actually have a calendar problem. If you have a culture problem, you have a calendar problem. If you have a parent engagement problem, you have a calendar problem. And here's why. Calendar is where your values show up or disappear. I tell people this all the time. You want me to tell you what your values are? Show me your calendar, show me your bank account. I'll tell you in 5 minutes what you value. 5 minutes. That's all I need. Because the calendar reveals what's actually important to you. So that's the first thing. Like, the reason why people say things like, I really wanted to do it, but then this happened, what they're saying is, I still don't really value that. I still value being the rescuer, the fixer, the firefighter. That's really what I value more. The other things I value, whatever. If there's no firefighting, fine, I'll go do the gratitude. But my identity is being the hero and being the firefighter, right? So that's the first thing when it comes to calendar. It's a trust tool. It's really a trust tool. Habits, okay? Habits are about identity. Again, you're asking me how I view it, okay?
Mhm.
You don't build habits because you want to do more things. You build habits and rituals to remember who you are when you are tired, scared, lonely, scattered, overwhelmed, exhausted, fatigued, but you name it. That is why you build the habit. You build the habit because the habit is what you lean on when you are exhausted. It's like, no, but this is my rhythm, but this is my ritual. I am a person who goes walking every day. So it doesn't matter if I had to run carpool and it ran 20 minutes late. Okay, I'm still walking. Maybe I'm walking for 20 minutes less, but I'm still walking. That is like, if you take nothing else from this episode, habits are about building identity to remember who you are.
Yeah. I agree with that so much. Here's a perfect real life example that just happened a couple weeks ago. I was speaking at a conference in Florida, and I had emergency tooth removal, wisdom
Mhm.
tooth that got infected and broke. And literally, they pulled it out the day before I was going to speak. And I had some friends that were like, I'll be at the conference if you need me to do your workshop. I'll do it for you. And I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll let you know. Literally that morning, she said, do you need me to cover? I said, no, I'm on the airplane. And she said, well, you're on the airplane. I said, I made a commitment. It's important to me. And
There you go.
again, it was on my calendar. And so
There
I
you
was
go.
there, fat face and all, wisdom tooth. But and the speech went great, by the way. But
I'm
yeah,
sure.
like, so yeah, those things that are, that are important to you, you're gonna find a way because they're important. It's what I value. And my word is important to me. And so that's just a perfect life example.
But even if you take, I mean, the classic book from James Clear, right, on habits, and one of the things he writes in that book is that people never rise to the level of their goals. They always fall to the quality of their habits and routines. So, like, again, as a leader, you can set the most amazing goals in your center. If you do not have rhythms and rituals that anchor those goals, you are running on hustle, on survival, on charisma, on grit, on hustle, and it doesn't last. It
Yeah.
doesn't last.
Yeah. Yeah. So the folks that are listening, maybe how do you approach personal growth and development as a leader? Because that's important, right? We know we have to continue to grow. Um, how do you approach that?
You're saying, what are the steps that you do? Like, tell
Yeah,
me, like,
yeah,
yeah,
like if somebody's listening, right, and they say, I really want to grow, but I'm not really sure what to do, where to start, how do I continue to develop as a leader? Because sometimes people feel stagnant. Let's say you're a director, you might be as high as you can go in terms of the hierarchy of that school. Like
sure.
you have to still continue to grow,
Yeah, yeah,
or you get stagnant and get
yeah,
bored, and then we all know what happens then.
yeah. So there are two parts to this answer. So when I look at leadership growth and development, right, I don't think you need to become someone else. I really believe that the first step to personal growth and development is returning to the leader who you were before survival became your identity. So that's the first step. Like, who are you? I had a conversation with a client at one of our leadership retreats a couple months ago. And I said, I need you to try to remember, when was the last time you were really happy and joyful? And what was going on in your life then? Now, this particular person had to go all the way back to when she was a sales rep. I think it was J.C. Penney. I can't remember which store. And she was like, I loved it. I loved being on the floor. I loved talking to people. I loved the sales part. I loved all of that. It's like, okay. So we know that you love people. You love interacting with people. So this is not about you're not cut out to be a leader of a school who interacts with people. This is you are overburdened with the responsibilities that come with being a leader, because you are doing emotional absorption of all your team's issues. You are in hypervigilance and hyper responsibility. You're consistently being conflict avoidant because you don't want to have difficult conversations. Of course, you don't like your job.
Yeah.
So personal growth and development is so much more about remembering who you are and creating the rhythm to hold that identity. If I have the identity of a leader who is warm and kind and consistent, what are the habits and rhythms of a leader who is warm, kind, and consistent? Well, let me tell you what she does. She does gratitude every single week. She meets with her team one-on-one every single month. She does classroom observations quarterly. She calls up families and connects with them. Here's what she doesn't do. Run around and ask people, do you need anything? Do you need anything? Does anyone need anything? That's what she doesn't do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. So you at the beginning we talked about, setting standards. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what does that mean? Setting high standards, right? We want to be good, we want to be great, we want to be like, what's the standard?
So it's so interesting because standards, again, like other words, like, I don't know, self-care or this kind of stuff has gotten all these different like meaning to it. Like, people describe self-care as like the bubble bath or whatever it is. Like for me, self-care is the peace. It's the not having to be anywhere at a specific time, right? So there's so many different, ways that we interpret things. But when we talk about standards are not expectations and standards are not rules. Standards are a reflection of your identity, right? Jesse Itzler, a guy I follow, he has this great line that he always talks about: how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Those are his standards, right? He has a standard that he talks about often. He's never too tired for his kids. So it doesn't matter if he just came back from a 15-hour trip or whatever it is. If he comes home and his kid's like, let's play soccer, let's do it. Let's play soccer. Not like, oh, I need 5 minutes. Can I rest? No. Now, I'm not saying that every person listening to this has to be that person. I'm just telling you his standard. His standard is, I'm never too tired for my kids. Why? Part of the identity that he wants to protect and remember and return to is, my kids are always the central focus of my life. Always. And that's one of those standards that he does to practice that. Okay? So going back to what I was talking about with rhythms and habits, right? Standards come right into it, right? Standards are what remains even when you're in a crappy mood, have no energy, and all the urgency is gone. Now I can see what your standard is. Now I can see what your standard is. Because when your standard is here, but you have all the money in the bank, you have all your staff No one called out. You just passed the best licensing inspection. Like everything is amazing. Okay, great. A lot of people can have that standard. I want to know your standard when everything is falling apart. Because here's the thing with leadership. Like, if you do not define the standard, your team will define it for you. And the standard is never what you say in the first staff meeting of the year. It's not what you say repeatedly 100 times. It's what you reinforce through rhythm. It is how your team knows that you are predictable. I always tell leaders, staff do not need bagel parties, ice cream, donuts. They don't need anything. They need your predictable presence. Yeah. Kids also, they don't want toys. They don't want video games. They don't want anything. They want their parents' predictable presence. Teachers are the exact same way. Teachers are the exact same way.
Wow, a lot of things to think of there. When you are a leader and you want to build other leaders, do you have any recommendations or process to help people identify future leaders on their team?
Yeah. So when you're looking at, okay, I want to start identifying who would be a good person to start investing in or start nurturing or start cultivating, because I want to grow leaders on the team. So the first thing is looking at yourself and saying, what are our company values, right? And who is embodying those values on the team, right? So if you have a value of excellence, or if you have a value of personal responsibility, or if you have a value of integrity, or whatever your value is, okay, who is really living this consistently, right? And the thing also that I tell this to leaders all the time is like, most of the time, the person who you're going to promote into leadership is someone who has been through some sort of adversity or struggle and has come out on the other side. And so why are you constantly smoothing the edges and creating no friction so that your team never has to have any kind of discomfort or any kind of challenge that they have to overcome? That is literally the hallmark of what you're looking for in the next leader. So stop smoothing the edges all the time. Stop like constantly putting bubble wrap so your team doesn't, fall or whatever it is. Like, let them fall and then see who gets up. If I want to sum it up in one sentence, that's what it would be. Like, it's really recognizing that. And the other piece is the friendship skills. Like, who on your team is a good friend? Who shows up for the other teachers? Who, and even when they have nothing to gain, right? Who is the person that is applauding their colleagues? Those are the people that are going to make phenomenal leaders, because the relationship skills in leadership, right? The person who says, I'm sorry first, the person who says good morning first, the person who we all want those leaders.
Yeah, for sure. Before we start to wrap up, is there anything that you want to share that I haven't asked you? I know the answer is yes. So share away.
Yeah. So I actually want to talk about this concept of money here for a second, because money also with women specifically becomes a very touchy subject for lots of reasons. But the reason I want to bring up money is because women who are leading schools need to understand that money leaks outside of your center without you even recognizing it. And it's not just money leaks, right? Because money leaks are not just about profit. Like, women are leaking energy, they're leaking their peace, they're leaking their leadership, like they're leaking all these things. And money is just one component, but the component of specifically of a money leak is understanding there is a hidden cost to misaligned decision making. There is a hidden cost to over functioning for your team. There is a hidden cost to carrying the emotional labor for a long time. And part of that cost is leaking money, leaking energy, leaking profit, leaking joy, leaking your own spontaneity. I spoke to a woman recently and she's like, And I asked her, I'm like, what do you think the cost is for holding everything for so long? And one of the first things she said, and then she got teared up, is she's like, I don't know how to be spontaneous anymore. Everything has to be so rigid. Everything has to be so calculated. I'm like, that is the cost. That's the cost, right? And being spontaneous, right? Some people are like, oh, some people are just spontaneous. No, some people are spontaneous, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have zero responsibility. There are incredible leaders who bring spontaneity and joy and pleasure and just these amazing experiences and emotions into moments with your team, because they actually know how to tap into that. They actually know how to tap into that. And so the leaking time, the leadership, the emotional capacity, the money, like I created a diagnostic called the money leaks. And it's really the first step to starting to take your power back, right? Like as a female leader, like understanding where's the profit leaking. And that becomes your doorway for more peace, for more clarity, for more leadership. So that's why I wanted to just really bring up this concept of money. Because I don't think it has to be so heavy. When you have money, you can have a mission. And when you understand how to use the money well, you can invest it well into your team. And school leaders need to stop being afraid of creating profitable centers. And the first step is you got to close the leaks, the money leaks.
Yeah. Lots of things to think about.
This was so fun, Erica.
Yes, it definitely was.
Yeah.
So tell folks a little bit about where they learn more from you.
Yeah.
You're in all the same places I am, but go ahead and give them all the places.
Yeah. So you can go to schoolsofexcellence.com. That's our kind of central online hub. We also have the Schools of Excellence podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed today's conversation, you're like, oh, I want to hear more of this, definitely go check out the podcast. And then I also have a special gift for everyone who's listening to this podcast to go to schoolsofexcellence.com/moneyleaks. And we'll put that link here. I'll send it to Erica, and you can go there and take the money leaks diagnostic. And that will help you recognize like where there are 6 core money leaks, which one of these leaks is the biggest in my center, and how do I actually start closing it? So those would be some of the best. And you can follow us on social also, and all the things I share behind the scenes of what it means to raise 4 cadoodles in my house and my crew all day long. So if you're interested in that as well, you can follow me on social.
Also, she has a YouTube channel. If you are a YouTuber, you love YouTube, check out a lot of my folks go on to YouTube, so check her out on YouTube as well. Of course. Yes. All right, guys. Well, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. We absolutely love you here in the Child Care Directors Chair podcast. If this is your first time on the show, welcome. We hope to see you again tomorrow. And if you're one of our loyal listeners, well, you already know I love you. So talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Child Care Director's Chair.